On Thursday nights, Rick kicks it off again, followed by Red Nation Rising, and then another scintillating episode of Game On with JD and Stacy. And then on Friday nights, Rick kicks it off, followed by the Vito and Vito Show and Behind Enemy Lines. I'm telling you, you just can't lose when you tune into K98. It doesn't matter what night of the week it is. We've got something that's going to keep you glued to the radio instead of the stupid TV. Trust me on that. Okay, now that those bills are paid, we're going to move on to some important stuff here. And we're going to kick off tonight's show talking about Paul Ryan and his possible speakership, to which I say not a chance. And why do I say not a chance? Well, because Paul Ryan is laying down conditions by which he will even consider running for Speaker of the House. Now, let me play you a little clip here of Paul Ryan trying to, I guess, show off his speaker skills, doing his best Boehner impersonation here. That's right, Paul. That's right. Can anybody take this guy seriously? Hey, here's a guy that votes conservative roughly 50% of the time. No wonder Harry Reid's excited to endorse him for House Speaker, right? I mean, come on. And who can take this guy seriously anyway? You ever look at his hair? And he's got the little indention down onto his forehead, kind of like Dracula, the little V. Count Ryancula. I mean, I can't even do his squeaky voice as a vampire because it would probably rub bone against bone inside of my body and just make me quiver in fear. I don't know. This is ridiculous. This guy wants to run for Speaker of the House on his own terms. He has laid down conditions that either would make him unfireable and might as well be a king, or he has the perfect excuse built in for not doing it, and he can just shrug his shoulders and stay right where he is. Now, Congressman Ryan doesn't want to give up time with his family, to which I say, Mr. Ryan, just take your name out of the hat right now, okay? You should have thought about the time that you were going to miss with your family when you ran for office to begin with. You are serving the constituents. You and your family opted to make this sacrifice. You and your family would also opt to make the sacrifice of being Speaker of the House. This is not up to your colleagues to deliver a promise for you. This is up to you to deliver on being the Speaker or not being the Speaker. Now, I don't know what the problem is in Washington, D.C. with some of these conservatives who are alleged conservatives. Let's go there. Because they seem to have somebody standing behind them that just at the most inopportune times yanks their spine right out of their back and then puts it back in for them when they want to chastise those in their own party who might say something against them. Oh, but when it's time to chastise Obama, yeah, that spine gets yanked right out and they fold like a cheap chair. I'm sick of the pseudo-conservative movement in the Republican Party. And Reince Priebus, it starts at the top. You're a piece of crap pseudo-conservative. You would rather get along than stand up and pick a political fight. And quite frankly, the constituents of the conservative nature are sick of it. we dislike it as much as we dislike that bone-chewing, whatever you want to call her over on the Democrat Party running the ticket over there, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who looks like she smells like a wet beagle wrapped in week-old olive loaf. I can't get any of my head wrapped around where the GOP is coming from, the way they just capitulate. Folks, I've said it before on the air. I'm going to say it again right now. If war broke out, I would rather fight side by side with Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid than any of the establishment Republicans, because at least I know Pelosi and Reid will do whatever it takes to win. And I cannot, and as much as it hurts me, I cannot say that about leadership in the Republican Party. And that's a sad damn day. Now, Ryan said he's willing to serve as Speaker, but only if his conditions are met. And he laid out his guidelines to the full House GOP conference after weeks of lobbying from senior members of his party for him to take on the task of leading the divided conference. A job repeatedly that Ryan has said he does not really want. Here's the quote. I came to the conclusion that this is a very dire moment, not just for Congress, not just for the Republican Party, but for our country. And I think our country is in desperate need of leadership. This is what Paul Ryan said to reporters after addressing his colleagues on the Hill. On Wednesday, outgoing House Speaker John Boehner set a date for Republicans to vote on his successor, signaling that Boehner is confident that Wisconsin Representative Paul Ryan will agree to run. Now, Ryan will run only if he's supported by three groups inside the House Republican Conference: the House Freedom Caucus, the Republican Study Committee, and the Moderate Tuesday group. I got news for you, Ryan. Moderate would also be applicable to the Republican Study Committee, despite what their name says. Ryan had a few more demands, too. He wants changes to House rules made as a team. A major demand of the House Freedom Caucus, he wants to make it harder to overthrow a sitting speaker. So he wants to be king, basically. And he wants a better work-life balance than Boehner had. He also emphasized the importance of unified support for the next speaker. He told his colleagues that he's willing to take arrows in the chest, but not in the back. Okay, you know what? Nobody has shot an arrow into Boehner's back. Nobody is running around, sneaking around Boehner and sniveling to the press. I was the sole voice of a real conservative in there. No, they're just stepping up and saying it like it is. And Ryan, you need to get over your little tenderoni ass and learn how to buck up with the big boys or stay on the porch, son. Now, should these conferences agree to his stipulations, Ryan says, quote, I am happy and willing to get to work. The meeting Tuesday night capped days of hand-wringing among House Republicans who recruited Ryan after House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy abruptly dropped out of the leadership race following abruptly making a jackass of himself when talking on a Sunday morning circuit of talk shows about the Benghazi Select Committee. The GOP source said Ryan told colleagues that he does not want to be the third log in the fire, referring to Boehner and McCarthy. The conditional offer made by Ryan ended a full day of back-channel meetings as the anticipation for his decision reached fever pitch. Somehow I don't think it was a fever pitch. Boehner and top voices in the conference leadership all pressed Ryan to get in, calling him the only choice for the party, which again should tell you everything you need to not support Ryan. The former vice presidential nominee softened his position as his close friends and colleagues besieged him as the party's only hope, because nobody else could possibly do a good enough job of kissing Obama's ass. Ryan spent last week's House recess in Wisconsin with his family mulling the decision. His young children are a substantial factor, and he is a little reluctant still to take on the demanding job. But he said Tuesday they're also an influence in going after it. His greatest worry is the consequence of not stepping up, of someday having my own kids ask, when the stakes were so high, why didn't you do all you could? Why didn't you stand and fight for my future when you had the chance? Ryan told reporters. His remarks in closed session Tuesday pleased his supporters, and some of the conservatives he'll have to convince to support his bid didn't rule out their support. Representative Greg Walden said, I thought he laid out a very positive vision. It was quintessential Paul Ryan, talking about how we can lead and be on offense. But again, this is Greg Walden. He's a moderate at best from the state of Oregon. He gave a compelling speech with vision about how to move forward, and I think you could probably hear the standing ovation applause. Whatever. Raucous applause was audible by reporters gathered in the adjoining hallway to the meeting, though. Ryan still has work to do, though, and House Freedom Caucus member Representative Matt Salmon of Arizona said he still needs to talk to Ryan before deciding to support his bid. The conservative caucus had endorsed Representative Daniel Webster of Florida for Speaker and not yet moved away from that endorsement. But Salmon also said he doesn't think it's an impossible task for Ryan to win their backing. And just before Ryan met with his colleagues in full, Boehner gave him an extra push, saying definitively on Fox News' special report that Ryan would announce his decision Tuesday night. Boehner said, I hope he decides to run, and if he does, I think he'll be elected. The comments pushed Ryan's spokesman to tweet that Ryan would not be making a final decision Tuesday night. If Ryan ultimately feels that he cannot unite the party and passes on the job, Republicans are growing nervous that there is no one else who could. It worries me a lot, said Senator John McCain, because a leaderless House of Representatives is not something that is conducive to legislative success, and it diminishes us even more in the esteem of the American people. Conservatives in the House Freedom Caucus signaled Tuesday that Ryan will need to work to get its support, something the Wisconsin Republican has shown little interest in doing. The caucus tweeted before he spoke that the next speaker must follow House rules and commit to an open process for debating and amending legislation. Let the House work its will and the people's. The House Freedom Caucus also said that the next speaker, no, we just read that. I have concerns with anybody who is not going to give us a reform agenda, said Representative Raul Labrador of Idaho. If anybody thinks we're going to get behind somebody just because they have a national name, they're sadly mistaken. Alabama GOP Representative Mo Brooks, also a member of the Freedom Caucus, said that he would hold a teletown hall with his constituents to discuss whether they would support Ryan as Speaker. But Brooks cited Ryan's past support for immigration reforms as a reason that he was already skeptical. There's growing concern in my district as more and more people become aware of Paul Ryan's amnesty and open borders immigration position. That concern deepened when Luis Gutierrez endorsed him for Speaker, Brooks said. Gutierrez, who has praised Ryan, is one of the most vocal House Democrats pushing for comprehensive immigration reform. Folks, Do your homework. I preach it week in, week out. You have got to research this guy and how he votes on the issues. Paul Ryan comes in with a Liberty score of 50%. 50%. That means half the time he's got his lips pressed to Obama's ass, and the other half, he's acting like a Republican who has a set of testicles, knowing that they're kept in a jar over on Nancy Pelosi's side of the house. Don't blindly back somebody because of where they're from or what they previously did. Check their record thoroughly. I promise you, you will never regret doing the homework on a candidate running for any kind of position in any kind of elected office. Now, that's about all I have on Ryan, except for there was one comment that Ryan made that I wanted to play for you. Yeah, that one again. Yeah. That's great stuff. I can't help it. Okay, moving on. We have got the Department of Homeland Security getting ready to expand a program that would actually pay United States employers to hire foreign science, technology, and math students taught in America. A move that would end up pushing American college grads and even the elderly to punishing the American college grads and even the elderly. In pushing to allow more foreign students into the so-called STEM fields, this optional practical training program, DHS said it will help businesses and college by keeping those foreign students in the U.S. following their American-taught science, technology, engineering, and math curriculum. Now, these firms are being offered $12,000 for each foreigner that they hire. What do you think this is going to do? We've already got 10 million Americans that are out of the labor force. Do you think this is going to help? They're trying to make the American worker the second-class citizen to cater to the foreign worker. Now, where the hell is Jay Johnson getting this money from to run this program out of Homeland Security? And how, pardon me there, needed a drink to wet the whistle. And how is this not just an open-handed slap to the face of every American kid in college, every American in the labor force looking for work, and every American in the or out of the labor force who have given up looking for work because they can't find work for all the damn H-1B visas that are being issued to people coming into this country legally and illegally that are taking the jobs that should be going to Americans. I'm sorry. Americans come first in America. And just as an aside, I'm gonna take 10 seconds here. And I've heard so many of our presidential candidates talk about, if I get elected president, the first thing I'm going to do is this, or this, or this. I've heard everything from undoing all of Obama's executive orders, to signing executive orders to secure our border, to, whatever kind of nonsense. Let me tell you what I would do if I were elected president. The very first thing that I would do is sign an executive order making English our national language and then I would have it passed as a formal law that English always be our primary language. And we're going to start with that and move forward. Something for the candidates to keep in mind. But anyway, back to where I was digressing from. They want to drag these people in under the guise of H-1Bs, saying that there's jobs that Americans can't fill, which is a lie. We have hundreds of thousands of people with STEM degrees who cannot find work because employers are being incentivized by the government to hire foreigners instead of Americans. The Center for Immigration Studies, it will punish American STEM students competing for the same jobs because there's not an incentive to hire them. And they added, in adjusting how the foreign students are categorized as employees, they get out of paying payroll taxes used to help fund programs like Social Security and Medicare. Currently, the program urges companies to hire STEM students for a year. CIS said firms are paid up to $10,000 to participate, so they're already getting an incentive. The new proposal is to add another year and another $2,000 incentive. I just cannot believe my friggin' ears when I hear this and see this. CIS fellow David North said that the proposed changes would be headlined. DHS proposes bonuses for employers who hire aliens rather than citizens. He explained that DHS, by defining a recent college grad as a student, takes both the worker and the employer out from under payroll taxes, thus penalizing the Social Security and Medicare trust funds directly and our elders who rely on those funds indirectly. I don't know how you would say indirectly. If they depend on them, I would say that's a direct influence. Congress did not make this decision, at least not directly. But since foreign students and their employers have privileges denied to citizens and green card holders alike, the bonus has been created. In the current document, DHS proposes to extend the additional 17 months for STEM workers to 24 months, thus from a total period of 29 months to 36 months, about a 20% increase. If the bonus given to employees for hiring a STEM graduate is worth $10,000 under the old rules, it is now worth $12,000 with the 20% increase, and is that much more likely to cause an employer to hire a former F1 student than a green card or citizen graduate. Folks, this is bullshit. Sarah Saldana, director of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, argued in a release that expanding the program is good for American schools and businesses. Well, yeah, it's good for businesses. They're getting $12,000 in their pockets. Our nation will benefit from keeping international students here, educated in the U.S. colleges and universities, here while they receive additional training, rather than sending them out of country. At the same time, U.S. employers will benefit from the increased ability to rely on the skills acquired by U.S. educated STEM students. How are they going to do that? They're not hiring the U.S. educated STEM students that are U.S. citizens. They're hiring the foreigners, as well as their knowledge of markets in their home countries. They don't know anything about the market. They leave before they get to the market stage of knowledge. And they don't go back until after they're educated. This is utter stupidity. I don't get it. How can somebody be so stupid as to make these comments? Anyway, we're a little past the bottom of the hour, probably a couple minutes late on the break. Sorry, Mr. Producer, but we're getting ready to take it right now, so you stay tuned. We'll be back in about 2 or 3 minutes, depending on the run, and we'll continue our discussion then. Sit tight.
Oh, but ain't that a you and me? Ain't that a something to see, baby. Ain't that America? Home of the free, yeah.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
According to me and Bunny, this show's not big. It's huge!
Mr. Trump, what are your thoughts on how should we go about making sure we can protect innocent life in this country?
We're going to be looking at a lot of different things. And, you know, a lot of people are saying that, and a lot of people are saying that bad things are happening out there. We're going to be looking at that and plenty of other things.
Donald, question right over here. What are you going to do as president in regards to Common Core? What actions are you going to take?
We're going to be looking at a lot of different things. And, you know, a lot of people are saying that, and a lot of people are saying that bad things are happening out there. We're going to be looking at that and plenty of other things.
That is like he can say that for anything.
Yes! It's just insert issue.
A lot of things.
Donald, what are we going to do for lunch?
We're going to be looking at a lot of different things. And, you know, a lot of people are saying that, and a lot of people are saying that bad things are happening out there. We're going to be looking at that and plenty of other things.
It's According to Me and Bunny, Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on K98 Talk.
Oh, but ain't that America? You and me. Ain't that America? Something to see, baby.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I made a comment earlier this week on Twitter, and I meant to do this during the Paul Ryan section of the show. So I'd like to back up a second and I have a comment for Paul Ryan with all his conditions and all his little ultimatums about running for speaker. In the words of one of my idols, and as you can tell by my name, and some of you are of age, you will recognize this. But just a quick comment for Paul Ryan. Oh, geez, will you stifle yourself already? Okay, and that's Archie Bunker for those that don't know. Look him up. You'll get it. Anyway, we've got terrorism going on all over the world. But here, over the last year, there really seems to be a really big groundswell in anti-Semitism. And I don't get it. I don't get what the Israel haters, first of all, have against Israel, and where this groundswell of them becoming so vocal has come from. But just more than 30 dead in Israel as Palestinians armed with knives attack innocents. What's responsible? A campaign of incitement which slanderously accuses Jews of intruding on the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem and murdering Arab children in cold blood. Now, who's behind this campaign? None other than Mahmoud Abbas, president of the Palestinian Authority. basically the new age Yasser Arafat, whom President Obama and Secretary of State John Kerry have long held as a peacemaker. Obama was quoted as saying, "I think nobody would dispute that whatever disagreements you may have with him, he has proven himself to be somebody who has committed to nonviolence and diplomatic efforts to resolve this issue." This was Obama to Jeff Goldberg in 2014. So he's calling Abbas a peacemaker and a statesman, basically. To which I say, excuse me. Yeah, you get it. That's a strange view of the commitment. The same time, Abbas, remember, who rejected then Israeli Prime Minister Olmert's absurdly generous 2008 peace offer, the same Abbas who resisted negotiations with Prime Minister Netanyahu during the 10-month settlement freeze in 2010, which Obama demanded explicitly on the grounds that it would give Abbas the cover he needed to begin talks. Abbas finally relented to Saudi pressure and attended a few meetings with Netanyahu that September, but under no definition of what the word negotiation actually means to anybody with any kind of common sense were these meetings any kind of legitimate meetings. The freeze was about to expire. The get-togethers were perfunctory at best, and nothing of significance was discussed, and the farce ended soon afterwards. It's an out-and-out lie to say that Mahmoud Abbas is committed to a diplomatic resolution, just as it was a lie the other day at Harvard when Secretary of State John Kerry attributed the bloodshed to a frustration that is growing because of the massive increase in settlements over the course of the last years. As Elliot Abrams points out, there has been an increase in the population of the settlements, not in their size, as if the settlements have any connection to what's happening in the first place. The terror gripping Israel is the result of a Palestinian leadership so adrift and corrupt, so aggrieved and conspiratorial that it encourages the radicalization of its youth and promotes an atmosphere of hatred and murder. Plain and simple, folks. We've all said it before. We all know it's true. Most of us have even tweeted it out before. This has been going on in the Middle East for thousands of years. Go back and look at the maps over history. There was never a nation called Palestine. Their claim to the property is completely debunked by anybody with common sense. And I know, just like my grandfather used to say, common sense is only common to those of us who have it. Keep that little nugget in mind the next time you get attacked by a Trumpkin or some left-wing nut job. You just never know when you're going to need it, and you're going to stop for a second, reflect, and you're going to walk away. Now, writer for the Times of Israel, David Horowitz, recounts the history. Not only did Abbas reject Olmert and Obama, he insisted in 2013 that the Palestinian quote-unquote right of return, which would irrevocably transform Israel into a binational state, be part of any deal. Declared in 2014 that Israel was committing genocide in Gaza, announced in 2015 that the Palestinian Authority would no longer uphold previous agreements, charged Israel, falsely by the way, with infiltrating and violating Muslim sites. He encouraged Palestinians to lionize the knife-wielding assailants as martyrs, victims of Israeli execution, spread the myth that 13-year-old Ahmad Mansara, recovering in an Israeli hospital from wounds he incurred in a botched terrorist attack in which he critically wounded a Jewish teen, had been killed by an Israeli vigilante. Horovitz concluded, the fact is that Abbas has quite deliberately fueled the flames of this latest Al-Aqsa-centered terror wave and incited the violence against the Israeli people. And what has the United States done to stop it? Nothing. And why? Because Obama doesn't give a damn about the Israeli state. He doesn't give a damn about the Jewish people. As long as the ones here in the U.S. that are secular vote for him, he doesn't care the first damn bit. Obama's focus has been laser-like when it comes to the Israelis' missteps, Israel's weaknesses, and Israel's moral code, and what he sees as Israel's true interest. Abbas, on the other hand, is someone that Obama has been content to puff up, placate, excuse, humor, and ignore. Obama said during a recent bilateral meeting at the White House, "I have to commend President Abbas. He has been somebody who has consistently renounced violence, has consistently sought a diplomatic and peaceful solution that allows for two states side by side in peace and security." And later in his interview with Goldberg, conducted around the same time, Obama added, "I believe that President Abbas is sincere about his willingness to recognize Israel and its right to exist, to recognize Israel's legitimate security needs, to shun violence, to resolve these issues in a diplomatic fashion that meets the concerns of the people of Israel." But at that White House meeting, according to reports, Abbas explicitly rejected three key elements of any agreement: recognition of Israel as a Jewish state, renunciation of the right of return, and commitment to end of conflict language that would foreclose future Palestinian demands. As he has done with so many dictators, theocrats, and goons, our president offered an open hand and was rebuked with a closed fist. This rebuke was not met with forceful rhetoric, countermeasures, or a shift in policy to strengthen Palestinian institutions, develop Palestinian civil society, broaden and liberalize the Palestinian leadership. It was met with silence. Obama put his head back in the sand, if you will. Not my first choice of where his head resides normally, but it'll do for our purposes. The concern about Obama is that he never asks anything about the Palestinians. He gives a complete pass, says Ambassador Dennis Ross, a former Obama official whose new book, Doomed to Succeed, tells the story of the beleaguered U.S.-Israel alliance. It makes it worse for the Palestinians. For the Palestinians, you have a political culture that is driven so much by this profound sense of victimhood and grievance. The idea that they should do anything towards the Israelis, they should make any accommodation towards the Israelis, is completely illegitimate. Why the pass? Jeffrey Goldberg says it's because the Palestinians have less power. that's no excuse. Another possibility, the president is occupied with Cuba, ISIS, Syria, Ukraine, and Iran. He doesn't have the bandwidth to hold Abbas to the same standard as Netanyahu, which is a cop-out, a complete cop-out. The president has been more than happy to castigate Netanyahu all along. Can't he say a few tough things about Abbas? Obama won't hold the Palestinians accountable because that might jeopardize his policy of daylight between America and Israel, a policy that was intended to improve U.S. credibility in the Muslim world and thereby denuclearize Iran, disarm and remove Bashar al-Assad in Syria, and establish a peaceful Palestinian state, a policy that has instead destabilized the entire region, formalized the Russian-Iranian-Syrian axis, enriched and empowered the Shiite theocracy, rattled our allies, and done nothing to curtail Palestinian intransigence. Even the carrot Obama offered Israel as part of the Iran deal, interdiction of Iranian weapons to Hezbollah, has been exposed as a complete farce. Russia has a no-fly zone in Syria and is arming Syria regulars and presumably Hezbollah too. How else to explain Netanyahu's sudden visit to Moscow last month? Hezbollah with a nuclear umbrella was something the Iran deal was supposed to prevent. And now, for the first time in 40 plus years, because of Obama's ineptitude, Russia is a power in the Middle East. Unacceptable. Now, Hassan Nasrallah benefits from the Russian nuclear umbrella, in addition to the Iranian one that will be unfurled a decade hence. Good job, Barry. Way to screw the pooch. So here we are, Palestinians no closer to statehood, Israel being terrorized, Jewish and Arab lives being lost, and an atmosphere so rife with revisionism and paranoia that the New York Times is questioning the history of Jews on the Temple Mount. All because President Obama forgot that daylight, as his policy dictates, ends in darkness. Now, I'm going to wrap up tonight's show with a quick blow through HIPAA, which is the Health Insurance Portability Accountability Act. This is supposed to protect the privacy of your medical records. But did you know that federal bureaucrats issue thousands of subpoenas every year without prior judicial approval to get around the law? If you don't have a reasonable expectation of privacy against the government in your medical care, then where does it exist at all? If your medical care is not private, then what is? Adam Bates, a criminal justice policy analyst at the Libertarian Cato Institute, he said that Congress passed HIPAA in '96 with a promise that it would clamp down on waste, fraud, and abuse in the healthcare industry and safeguard patient privacy. But HIPAA allows federal bureaucrats to get patient records merely by issuing administrative subpoenas or civil investigative demands. These bureaucratic edicts bypass the Fourth Amendment's requirement that a judge must give prior approval before government can search or take an individual's property. Officials with the Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Inspector General, and the Department of Justice thus have access to any records they believe to be quote-unquote relevant in cases of alleged healthcare fraud. People, this means that they can, at a whim, issue an administrative subpoena for every American's records citing some vague, fraudulent cause, and boom, they have your medical data. Hands down, end of story, and there's nothing to prevent them from doing it. When are we going to stand up? When are we going to rein this government in? I know we thought we did it last November when we sent this huge swell of conservatives and GOP people to D.C. And we thought we were doing it, but we were being screwed by GOP leadership. Once again, Boehner, McConnell, and Priebus. Huge swell of Republicans that are probably all sitting there with their heels stuck in the mud, wondering what they can do to get past leadership to do the work their constituents, you and me, sent them there to do. Now, I don't know what to tell you on this. You have got to do your homework, people. I'm looking for a better way. I need you to help me look for a better way. There has got to be a better way than just voting for somebody that shows up on the Republican ticket, sending them to D.C. so that they can be converted into the Republican waste that's running the Republican Party up there. You have to understand, Boehner and McConnell are a couple of sacks of male bovine excrement, and they're in charge. They're happy to capitulate to Obama. They're happy to capitulate to Harry Reid. They're happy to capitulate even to Nancy Pelosi, the friggin' minority whip in the House of all things. I don't know what the answer is, other than the Freedom Caucus standing their ground, putting their middle finger in the air to Paul Ryan and John Boehner and Reince Priebus, and telling them to find a short pier and take a long walk because they talk too much. Yeah, I stole that. It's okay. Anyway, that's about it for tonight, folks. Stay tuned. According to Bunny and Me, with Polita Bunny and Jason DeWilkins is coming right up. And like I went through the lineup before, you can't go wrong any night of the week on K98 Talk. If you want to see the whole schedule of shows, go to k98talk.org, that's .org, and check out the complete lineup, because it goes day and night. Man, this is not just a 3 or 4 hour a night fly by the seat of your pants radio station, folks. This is a full service job here. And we're working hard for you because we're trying to bring you the best. And I know you have to put up with me when you get the best too, but that's how it is. So remember, if you like the show, tell a friend. If your friends like the show, you probably need new friends. But you and them are welcome here every Wednesday night on the Conservative Curmudgeon Show. Thank you for being here. God bless. Good night. And I will see you next week.
We believe in the American way, and we built this country called the USA, and we fly our flag because we're proud and free. We're Americans. Red, white.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much